I think with the Fed, we have the most prospect of more action. We can see the Fed tapering its quantitative easing experiment, if you like to call it that. I think now that's pretty much discounted in the markets as well. So in fact, I think there's only upside for the markets there, for the risk markets that is. Because if the Fed doesn't taper in September now, I think that'll be a nice surprise for equity markets, let's say. And the other thing they may do is change the forward guidance with regard to when they might raise rates to make it obvious they're going to take longer to raise rates in a sort of protest against the way the market has taken up its expectation of rates sooner. So that would be good news too. So I think the Fed meeting can probably only be good news for equity markets. ECB, have you got a crystal ball? Because that's what you need.
Two of them.
That's very difficult to predict the ECB, because it's always that game of herding cats, as I call it. Draghi is doing a fantastic job of herding these cats, these representatives from the 17 countries, and all the time having to bow down to the Lord and Master, the Bundesbank, and make it just this side of acceptable for the Bundesbank. And that's what the ECB has achieved over the last 2 or 3 years, and I think they continue. In the near term, next meeting, I don't think we see much. There'll be some reiteration of Draghi's desire to see market rates stay lower for longer. Because at the moment, the market doesn't believe him. It's taking rates up. And I think they're going to demand action in terms of a rate cut or new LTRO, long-term refinancing operation, before they believe him. Bank of Japan have probably just started. They will also play the game some more, despite the fact, actually, that in terms of relative to GDP, their quantitative easing has been massive. There is this real groundswell now of opinion. RBA got another mandate in terms of the recent elections. The three arrows policy of monetary, fiscal and structural reform is in full swing. And I think that the Bank of Japan has finally got the message. It was too piecemeal, too conservative for 10 years, 15 years, and now they've got the message. They'll do more if required. I think you can be at the adventurous end of your risk appetite. An individual has to define that, what risk, what volatility they want. But if you define that and then you put as much risk on as you're happy with, meaning risky markets, equities, in also the developed markets, but maybe also in emerging markets, emerging market bonds, I think you have this sweet spot for another few months where the growth is good enough in the developed market. And also I'm quite sanguine, not too concerned about China. You can go for the more adventurous investments. I do have two concerns.
All right.
One is actually India. And you also you have to a certain extent keep your fingers crossed about the Eurozone, but I'm not really concerned about that. I'm more concerned about India at the moment.